Welcome to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that I bring you each and every single week, where I talk about whatever may be on my mind, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the talk. This is the relaunch of Dynamo's Dozen. You are watching on the Dynamo Podcast Network, and this little lady here beside me is none other than Bronwyne Billington. How are you, Bronwyne?
I'm well, thank you, Ian. How are you?
I'm really well, and I'm really happy to have you on the show because we have been friends for probably over a decade at this point.
A
Uh,
long time.
and this here particular podcast has been pretty much in the work for, I'd say, about 3-4 years maybe.
Yes.
And it was so crazy because when we did talk about doing a podcast, we were always like, we gotta choose the right time. It's got to be the right. I mean, we could have done a podcast talking shit about movies or music. You know, that would have been cool. But when it came to talking about your dad, um, the late great Dynamite Kid, as you know, who has been respected on this show since day one, as you know, we said we wanted to make it for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? And I think now is the most opportune time. And why don't you tell my listeners? You know, pretty much we're not just here in Ireland; we're worldwide, baby. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Calgary, still live here. So I grew up with my dad, the Dynamite Kid, obviously as a wrestler, and we grew up really close to the Hart family as well. So
Yeah,
that's just how I grew up.
yeah, yeah.
Calgary, born and raised, and within the wrestling family.
Go Flames, go! That's my little thing. No,
We're not talking hockey here, Ian.
no, we're not talking hockey. No, I promise you, we're not going to talk hockey. I did say that to you. No, it's awesome because like I get to see like some of the photos that you put up and all. It's really cool. You know, one of the ones I saw the other day was like your dad sitting with Stu and in the little kind of chair and just your little head in the
Yeah.
corner. It's like, you know,
Yes, so we
it's
would spend pretty much every Sunday up at the Hart House for Sunday dinners, and everyone would be there. It's a huge family, right? So all the
sure.
grandkids, all the wrestlers, friends, family, anyone. Lots and lots of people were always there. Of
Yeah,
course,
I
there
mean,
was
it
the
was
dungeon, and then there was a ring in the backyard. So we were always messing around in there, and there was always wrestlers.
just wrestlers everywhere. It's crazy.
It was
Like
everywhere.
it's
Wherever you
great.
look.
It's kind of funny because you kind of get a little sneak peek at that, don't you, when you watch the Wrestling with Shadows documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of see like the table is just like
Yeah.
full of everybody. It's like
Yeah. So
it's
that would be the big table of the adults. And then in the other room, there's a big table like that for all the kids. And that was our Sunday dinners.
that's awesome, man. And those Sunday dinners looked pretty good. They actually looked really Irish as well because like Irish
Yeah.
Sunday
Like meat and potatoes.
yeah. It's just meat and potatoes. It's like we are the potato people, you know.
There you go.
um, what about? I suppose for you, and that's a good way to start. Actually, what was it like growing up? You know, with a wrestler for a dad. I mean, obviously, you know, to set the narrative a little bit here. Everybody knows now that there's going to be a Dynamite Kid, you know, episode on Dark Side of the Ring. Yours truly, and your sister are that you appear on the show, and we are going to do a two-parter because we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the episode, you know, once it airs. But speaking today, I suppose so people kind of get an idea of who Bronwyne Billington is before they see you talk about it on the episode. What was it really like growing up with, a wrestler for a dad? Did you understand what was going on?
I mean, I was, of course, super young, and my dad was always on the road, especially when he was wrestling in Japan. I think he was gone
Sure,
6 weeks at a time.
sure,
So when he was home, he wasn't home that often. But he always pampered me with a lot of love. I was his firstborn,
yeah,
his baby girl. So
maybe, yeah.
I have a lot of, positive memories of him growing up.
Yeah, and you can see that, like, you know what I mean, because you've shared photos with me as well, and it's like you're always on his knee. You're always, and he kind of
Yeah, just little things like that. You can tell he's always like holding my hand, or
yeah,
it's just those
yeah.
little gestures that speak volumes.
And the great thing about Dynamite is, as you know, when I kind of started in the wrestling business, your uncle, Brett, and Tom himself were my two heroes. You know what I mean? They were the guys I looked up to, that I wanted to emulate. You know what I mean? And I think that's where my general frown came from, was looking at your dad.
Yeah, like I want that.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be like that.
Yeah,
But it's
keep
kind
that
of like
big.
an Irish and English thing anyway. Maybe it's just an Irish and English thing. Be surly, as they say. And it's funny because bollocks is our favorite word.
Yeah,
You know, you big bollocks. But no, I mean, you could see though, 100%, like what you said is very apparent when I see any photos that you post of you and your
mhm,
dad. And it's always refreshing to see them too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because there's been so much negativity spread around Tom Billington as a person, by people that really haven't a clue as to what kind of person he was. You know what I mean? And I think that's really what I like to kind of
exactly.
set the standard of on this podcast. I mean, you remember that day, rest in peace, when your dad passed. I put up the tribute podcast that's gone back a couple of years ago, and I was lucky enough to have Harley Race come on, literally with 10 minutes notice. And the way he spoke about your dad, and
Mhm.
anybody that I spoke about your dad was like just a loyal person that would do
Yeah,
anything
I
for
think anyone
anybody.
that truly knew him
Yeah,
saw the positive side.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even your mom speaks positive about him now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like people kind of just, it's so easy to edit something and take the bad thing and go, boom, there you go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, and that's why I've always looked out for you. You know what I mean, with certain things, and you know what I'm talking about. Because people try and exploit that particular narrative. But in terms of
Yes.
and by the way, shout out to all the English family. Mark Billington, I hope he's watching this as well. That's your Uncle Mark,
Yep.
and Tom Jr. as well. Literally the spitting image of your dad, right?
Yes.
It's
Crazy.
actually, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Um, but in terms of like growing up, like when you watched, like, did you see your dad on TV? Like, would you have seen the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation on TV back in the day? Would your mom show you that, like when
Yeah,
they
I
were
think
all?
if it was on TV, or if there's any big event, of course we would be watching.
Sure,
Um,
sure,
and whenever it came to Calgary, we were always there. We were always
yeah,
backstage, and so that would have been WWF at the time.
yeah, yeah,
Because Stampede Wrestling, I was just a baby, so I never went
of
to that.
course,
And then they switched over to WWF. So
sure,
yeah, we would watch on TV. Probably not the Japan stuff because I'm sure the timing was all weird. But I remember having, and my mom still has them, boxes full of VHSs,
I
like
know,
recorded. You would record it on TV,
yeah.
and so we would watch those.
If I ever won the lottery, I'd be like, Michelle, I will offer you everything just for those VHS.
Right?
um, and it's cool because you like one of the things, you got to be backstage at a lot of those shows, as you said, like. And one picture I want to bring to your attention, and you know the one I'm talking about, is you with Macho Man and Elizabeth.
Yeah,
That's like the cutest photo ever.
I know it's my favorite picture. Well, I have a couple. I believe there's two with
Yeah.
them, but one's a Polaroid, and that one's just the cutest. I have cutest outfit on, and
Oh, it's actually so cute. And
but
I'm
the
like,
other one I do have somewhere. He's Macho Man has the big sequence cape on, like
yeah,
his glasses.
yeah, 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 yeah.
He
He's
must have
getting
just
ready
been
to.
ready.
He's
Yeah,
getting
he's
ready
ready
to
to
do
go
a
out.
promo.
Yeah, and he takes a picture with me first. So
That was awesome.
they absolutely adored me. They didn't have children of their own, and even like Brett's kids as well. They were always with Macho Man and Elizabeth. So they were like, "Oh yeah, they can be in our locker room." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
It was so like, yeah, like they're really kind of adoring photos. Like when you look at them, and it's kind of like it's like a sneak peek behind the scenes of that madness that you would see in 80s pro wrestling, right? When you saw Macho Man and Hogan doing their promos, and look like they're on mushrooms or something, like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. And then literally before that, they're like, oh, we're just taking this picture with this cute little kid.
Yeah, that was my life.
Yeah, and like, did you like for you when you went to school, right? And you were with the normal kids, as they say, kids that have families that done regular day jobs, that we do now. What did people know you from school, or was it?
So I
Oh,
remember, not thinking anything of it. And it was kindergarten. We
yeah,
had like a family barbecue thing, and my dad was actually in town.
yeah.
So, because he was on the road. So he came to that one, like the first thing he ever came to. And of course, he's probably wearing like a tank top and like
Oh, of
his
course.
cowboy
Pair of
boots and
sweats.
aviators, like big muscles and quite the look. And my mom was pretty young and, really into fashion, big hair. So they
Yeah,
probably stood out a lot.
I
So
would say so.
after
I would
that,
say so.
yeah, everyone after that was like, "You're so lucky. You're a lucky duck that your dad's a wrestler." And I would have been 5 or 6 years old. So I went home like the next day and I'm like, Mom, do I really look like a duck? Because everyone at school says I look like a duck just because they called me a lucky duck. Like I totally didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah, you look like a duck. No, you lucky duck.
Yeah. And then years later, like still in elementary, I remember like bribing boys that I had a crush on with promo pictures of my Uncle Brett. I was like,
Really?
I will give you a picture of my Uncle Brett. Like, now, do you have a crush on me? And I think it worked.
I'm not gonna lie. If I was one of those boys back then, it probably would have been. Yeah, it would have worked. It probably would have
I used
worked
to
on
like
most.
steal these pictures from my house because my mom would get them, right? And she'd get T-shirts and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm gonna give this to a boy at school.
And that's kind of cute. That's kind of cute, though. To be fair, like that's just
Yeah,
what I
and
mean.
then probably like I don't even watch wrestling, like, but I'll keep it.
But you
I would like
obviously
to ask that boy about that now today.
got that kind of pranky side from your dad, though, right?
Maybe a little bit.
Well, he was known for a prank or two, so
Yes.
it's
I don't know.
It,
Not much of a river, but I like to have fun, and I'm kind of funny.
yeah, I agree. And it's kind of cool now because you've done a couple of podcasts as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that you're kind of getting out there and talking about it as well, because you've obviously got a lot of great stories to talk about, but also you've got your own kind of story to talk about, which is kind of what I'm interested in too. I don't just want you on here just to talk about your dad. Like there's a person behind the man, and there's a daughter behind the man. You know what I mean? And you've got obviously two siblings as well from Dynamite Kid as well. What I suppose for you when you I remember asking this question actually years ago. I was like, what sort of music was your dad into? It's kind of weird. I was like, because I just had this idea in my head that he'd be like a Journey fan or something. You know what I mean? And I remember I asked Mark, I text Mark, and he was like, believe it or not, he loved Madonna.
It's true.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, I love Madonna. True Blue, baby. It's great. Like, this is my team. I'm wearing a football jersey, an English football jersey here. Chelsea. Just I don't want to plaster it all over the show, but so he was a big Madonna fan. I was like, all right, right.
Yeah,
on.
I can remember again the VHSs. I don't know if they were music videos. No, I don't really recall what. I think they were music videos with like a virgin on it.
Yeah.
Which album is that? Yeah. I remember just playing that all the time, and he'd be playing it. I think he had a crush on her at the time. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say in the 80s. I mean, I grew up having a crush on Madonna, like as a kid. So I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And I think we're both 84.
You're 84, right?
84, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we're 84 kids. So I mean, Madonna was a big deal. Us growing up.
Yeah. And so I love that era Madonna.
Like, yeah, me too.
That will forever remind me of my dad. I wasn't really a huge fan past that, but
no, me neither.
But he also liked Cher. So that was like later 90s when he was back in England and I went to go visit him, he was into Cher.
He's lost me now. He's lost me now.
And again, I think he's probably just like, oh, she's a babe. Like,
yeah, I think he's probably like, oh, she's yeah.
My dad's a little bit silly because he was into Western movies too, which is kind of surprising. maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Mark
Super
was
into
saying he was
John
into
Wayne.
like John Wayne stuff and all that. Like, because
Yeah, he's super into John Wayne. So
yeah, I suppose. Well, I suppose like when you're like for me, it would be similar because he would have obviously grown up in the UK in a small town, and Ireland would be similar. So we wouldn't have a lot of guns or anything like that. So when you
mhm.
go over to Canada or you go over to America and you can go to gun range and shooting, you
Yeah,
know what I
so we
mean?
lived on an acreage, and he had a lot of like hunting guns, like shooting
Yeah,
guns.
yeah. So like that would be kind of really exciting. Be like, I'm gonna watch John Wayne and learn how to
Yeah,
use
I
this.
wanna be a cowboy, and he wore cowboy boots. It's kind of weird. I mean, that's part of the Calgary gimmick, right?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
the Harts were wearing cowboy boots and
Yeah.
cowboy hats. So
It's crazy. Actually, I suppose we should probably talk about a couple of the Hart family as well, because I mean you've got a relationship with all of them. I mean you are pretty much you're all related. I mean you say that they took you in, but you're a Hart, really. You know what I mean? You're all really kind of really close, which is cool.
yeah,
Um, what was it like? I mean, in terms of like when you were getting older, you know what I mean? And you because I bet you were at that Calgary Stampede pay-per-view, right?
the In Your House one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was, you know, for a lot of people that would listen to the show, that's a legendary pay-per-view. And I mean, for me personally, I couldn't care what came before the match. I think that's just one of the greatest matches of all time. But one of my favorite moments is just all you heard.
Yeah, we
People.
actually
It's
didn't go in the ring, but it's so weird that I can't even really remember that show or like remember.
yeah.
But my mom has a better memory of some things. So
Sure. Of
she
course.
said at that time, there was, especially when you're in Calgary, like there's so many Hearts trying to get backstage and stuff, so they had to kind of limit it.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, everyone's sitting up front or whatever, and like our seats kind of got separated, and we didn't actually know we were supposed to go in the ring. So when everyone went in the ring, and my mom was just kind of like, oh, like we should be there. And then after, my uncle Brett was like, you guys should have been there. Like, why weren't you in there? Like, no one told us. And like we were far.
Yeah.
So doesn't really bother me now, and I honestly don't even remember.
Yeah.
But that's the story.
Yeah. Well, you were a kid at that time because that was like what,
Yeah,
97.
like we were trying to be respectful, like, oh yeah, no, it's okay, we'll sit up here. Like, we don't need to be backstage. I understand how it gets. Well, the
Sure.
Hart family is so huge, right? So we're like, yeah, we'll go up there, no problem.
You and
But yeah,
you and Aaron are always so humble. Aaron, of course, is Brahman's fiance. And you're always so humble about, oh, we're just chilling over in Brett's house. It's no big deal. I'm like, oh, cool. Can you
yeah,
tell him that I
yeah,
exist?
yeah.
It'd be nice. No, obviously I'd never say that to you, but you know what I mean. It's kind of cool that you kind of have that relationship and also maintain that humbleness, which I think is really
Yeah, that's
cool.
been really important for me to
Yeah,
remain humble. And I do
yeah,
think that's a characteristic I got from my dad, because he
yes,
was always, no matter how big he was, he would be like, I'm not a big deal. And he would help anyone below him. So,
and it's nice hearing that because they're stories that need to be heard. You know what I mean? It's easy to hear the stories of, oh, this prank happened or that prank happened or whatever. I think it's important for me, um, mainly as a fan, but also it's important for me as, you know, a friend of yours and kind of the family at this point, that we kind of do let people know that there was actually a heart, and no pun
yeah.
intended, a heart behind you know, the tough exterior. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
um I think a lot of people kind of read into the book and took it at face value. I mean, at the end of the day, there was ghostwriters in there as well, and it, you know, I think a lot of that got pretty misconstrued as well. Um, and you could tell that, like, I mean, even with the DVD that was made by High Spots, you could tell that your dad was like, well, I never heard of that story, and it's like, well, it's
Yeah.
in the book. You know what I mean? So that was a red flag for me.
On
I
with
was like,
High Spots, I mean, my dad, that was after his stroke, so he wasn't talking a lot at that time.
of course,
So that's why they had to interview so many people
yeah,
to kind of put the story together. But my dad would just kind of be like, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So he couldn't really even tell the story then. But
yeah,
I'm hoping that Dark Side will kind of be more of a full story. Like the
yeah.
first thing that's going to be out there, that's going to kind of be, I mean, it's, yeah, as much of a full story as we can get.
I'm hoping that too. I mean, that's a great thing. But let's talk about you for a minute because like me, are a huge music fan. Um, Huge music fan actually, and it's funny because I remember when we first started talking, you were like, I was like, what kind of music are you into actually? Because that was just one of those young people things. You know, you're on Facebook
Yeah.
for like the first few years. You're like, what kind of music are you into? And you were like, I don't know. And you wouldn't have been a big rock fan back then, but then you became a big rock fan.
Well, not totally true. In junior high, I started liking
Oh
Marilyn
yeah,
Manson
yeah. No, sorry. Yeah,
in
I'll
grade
preface that
7.
correct. Yeah. No, you did.
No, but
Yeah,
it just took me years later, I wasn't downloading music. I wasn't,
sure.
there was no more much music or like music videos, and you had to go out and like download your music. And I just wasn't doing that type of thing. So I
Yeah,
wasn't into music that way until I met Aaron, who is fully into
Mr.
exploiting me
Music.
through everything. So
Yeah,
he brought me back into what I always did really love again and made it easy for me.
he did. Yeah. Because I remember
Yeah.
you were like, oh, I remember you mentioned Pantera. You said to me, I was like, I remember you were mentioning Pantera. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And
but I did go through like a rave period when we probably first met. I was probably into like trance
I
and
think so. I think so. And I was
yeah.
like,
And
oh,
now
okay.
I don't listen to that stuff at all. But
It's kind of like it's drug music at this stage. That's what over here it is anyway.
what's
Um,
that?
but I think
Oh, a stage. Yeah.
in terms of your, I suppose, if you had, here's a good question, just came to me. If you were on a desert island and you knew that Aaron was on a different desert island, but you only had 5 albums, CDs. Let's go old school here. We don't have playlists here now. We have CDs. If you could bring 5 CDs with you, let's not bring bands into it. What would you take?
So you want to know the album?
Yeah,
Yeah. So probably Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar.
good shout. I'm with that. Yeah, I get that.
Um, oh, I hate this album game. Pantera, Vulgar of Display.
Hell yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, that's got to be. Yeah.
Um, Soundgarden, Super Unknown.
Oh, nice shout. Yeah, Rusty Cage, baby,
Pearl
breaking out.
Jam, 10.
Yeah.
And who's my fifth? I got to throw something probably a little later in there. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't pay Brahman to say any of this, by the way. It's literally
Do you
not.
love Fleetwood Mac?
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh
Yeah.
my god, that Stevie Nicks' voices does things to me, like, and not in a sexual way, just so people know. No, but she's
That's how
just.
I feel about Phil.
But there you go. Okay, well there we go. We're getting somewhere. Yeah, we'll get Phil on the next show. Don't worry.
I need to meet him.
No, yeah, like Stevie Nicks just has that voice. I don't know what it is. I
I
think
know.
it's
I
like
saw a shirt and I want to buy it. It says Stevie Nicks is my spirit animal. Yes.
you
I
gotta
like
wear
that.
it. You
And
gotta
her and I
wear it.
have the same birthday.
Oh, really? That's
We're
cool.
connected.
Yeah, because my Rachel, she's absolutely super into Stevie Nicks as well. Like she's
Yeah.
just obsessed. It's
Yeah.
like
Good chill music, morning or yeah,
anything,
like
anything. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And even just listening to Lindsey Buckingham sing "Big Love" on his own on an acoustic guitar is good enough for me too. With a 12 string, it's like, oh yeah, I'll have that. No problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what
I
mood
think
I'm
they
in.
fired him.
I know.
This makes sense.
It was a bum move, to be honest with you. Yeah, that was. I thought it was a rib, and I was like, "What are you kidding me?"
They came here like right after they had fired him. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm not gonna go.
yeah, you're right. You're right not to go. You
Not that
know.
I didn't have tickets or whatever, but I was just like, I don't think it's gonna be the same.
No, I mean he is Fleetwood Mac at
Yeah,
this point. You know what I mean? But I think he's back now, is he, or is there talk of him coming
I'm
back?
not sure to be honest.
Yeah,
COVID has me in my own little world, so
well, all of us. But that's the great thing about technology is that we get to talk about it, talk
yeah.
about our own little worlds, and that's cool because obviously you were half British, and I can see those little United Kingdom
Oh
pillars in
yeah.
the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are.
Things I got when I visited my dad at like the London airport.
I like that. That's really cool, Matilda.
Right?
That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. That's really cool. Actually, there's a really cool question. Like fans, I'm sure random fans would say, "What was Matilda like?" So you obviously would have played with Matilda back in the day. Looked like
Yes.
the super most chill dog of
So I
all
have
time.
pictures, and I'm not sure if you've seen them, but it was my third or fourth birthday, and that was in my Springbank house. We lived on a big acreage, and a bunch of
Sure.
people were there, and
Yeah.
Davey was at that birthday party, and Matilda came. So there's a picture of Jade and I in our birthday dresses, like our fancy dresses, and the Matilda sitting in the middle. It's a great picture. But my
Jade.
mom told me
Jade is obviously Brett's daughter.
Jade's
For
Brett's
anybody,
oldest
would have,
daughter.
yeah,
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 she's a year older than me, so we grew up as like best friends,
yeah.
basically sisters. But my mom said that all the adults were right there, like while they were taking the picture, because Matilda was like would bite us. She wasn't very friendly, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, because on the road they're feeding her hot dogs, and
It's actually crazy when you think
it
about it.
wasn't the hot dogs, but like
The poor
because
dog. The poor dog was
yeah,
just
they would do things so that she would bite Slick and stuff like that.
sure.
Like
Jimmy Hart and all
whoever they
those
were
guys.
against in the ring, Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
So she was kind of nippy.
Yeah. Oh my God. That makes so much sense. I love hearing little things like that. You know what I mean? What other podcast would you hear? Be like, oh, it's the Dynamite Kid episode, but let's talk about Matilda and why she was nippy.
Yeah.
Because Davey kind of looked after
Yeah.
Matilda, didn't he? Yeah, 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 yeah. They mirrored each other actually,
Maybe
didn't they?
Georgia or maybe Harry has better memories, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But
How do you feel about the Hall of Fame, the recent Hall of Fame?
I felt really happy for my cousins.
Yeah,
Georgia has been working really hard at getting that
sure,
going, and
sure.
getting all the merch ready for Davy, and just really, really happy. And I mean, kind of sad I couldn't be there. It was COVID, and
Yeah,
it was supposed to happen a year prior. So
I know.
I would have had a little baby at the time. So I wouldn't have been able to go anyways. And then fast forward to a couple of months ago or a month ago, whenever that was, it's still COVID. So I couldn't go anyways. So kind of disappointed in that. But, I watched it home, and I was really touched by Harry's speech. He mentioned
Me
my
too.
father, and
Yeah,
I didn't know he was going to do that. He didn't have to do that. And that just
no,
made me really happy.
no. I thought it was very honorable. The
Yeah.
speech, just in general, was very honorable. You could tell that he was trying to fight, through a lot of emotion. And when I heard the DK initials coming out of his mouth as well, I was like,
Yeah. I mean, Harry has idolized my father, his whole life as well. So
yeah, I mean,
even with, he loves wrestling in Japan. And so he took a lot from my dad and Davey. So it was really awesome that he mentioned him.
well, that's the thing. I mean, like, and no disrespect to Davey, like we kind of look at it and we kind of go, yeah, the British Bulldogs as a team, but like we look at and I know we're gonna disagree on something here. Like, when I hear someone like Kenny Omega even mentioned in the same sentence as the Dynamite Kid, I get aggressive. You know what I mean? I get annoyed because I'm like, Tom would turn his grave if he saw this piece of shit fucking trying to be a wrestler. Because he's not, in my opinion, I don't really. He's fine. You know what I mean? He's fine, but I don't think he certainly doesn't hold a candle to your dad. But I think Harry, it's great to see that as well. Whatever beef people had about this and that, it's just great to see him go, well, look, that's my uncle. That's
Yeah.
whatever. I idolize him. You know what I mean? And I think it was a very touching speech, and I think it
Yeah.
was an absolute credit to Harry to even get through it. To be honest with you.
Yeah. It's something I'm super proud of, is that, there's been a lot of Billington Smith drama through, the older generations because of the Bulldogs and the way British family members hold grudges and stuff like that. And
You're not wrong. You're not
yeah,
wrong. Yeah.
it's probably the same with, you Irish.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to become an adult and form a really tight relationship with Georgia and Harry, that's something I'm really proud of. That, we're like, they're drama is not our drama. Let's just be us. They wouldn't want us like disagreeing, our dads. So,
No.
and we're really, really close now. And I'm really proud of that. So
I think so. And I think pro wrestling was different back then. Pro wrestling was a time where you literally you lived, slept, and breathed kayfabe. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like that's it. Like I mean, you were roomed together. I mean, of course. I mean, Davey and Tom were married to each other basically. You know what I mean? So of course there was going to be infighting. You know, of course there was going to
Yeah.
be a blow up.
And then when they were friends off, my dad was in England and he was like in Florida. So I think that distance, and at that time there's no social media, there's no like texting and stuff like that. So I just don't think they ever got through that hump of the distance. Otherwise, I think they would have made up for sure.
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind. I think that's one thing that we know now with like even how we are broadcasting this right now. You know, you're in Calgary, I'm in Dublin, and I think there's no doubt that would have happened. You know what I mean? I've no doubt about that in my mind, and it's just.
So it was super cool, and my dad and Harry visited when I was over there. Harry came over.
Yeah, tell the story. Yeah.
I think that was the second time I saw my dad, so it was like 2000.
Do you want to tell the story first when you got if you don't mind? So you hadn't seen your dad in how many years?
I hadn't seen him in 15 years.
Wow.
I think it was.
Okay. So you hadn't seen him. Had you been on the phone? You skipped?
We hadn't been on the phone for 10 years.
Okay.
I think it was 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years. So I'm getting my math all wrong here, but yeah, I think we hadn't seen each other for 15, hadn't talked for 10.
Okay.
And this is when Facebook came about. So
sure.
I reconnected with my cousins that were over in England, and I was in my early 20s. I had a 2-year-old daughter. And at that point I was, I'd never really traveled much.
Happy birthday, Miami, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my daughter just turned 13. So crazy. But yeah, so I got a visa and I got my passport, and I'm like, I can go to England now. Like, I'm an adult. I have, I can do these things.
Do things.
Yeah. So I waited for a flight or seat sale, and I got a ticket to England for $800, which is super cheap. That's the cheapest I've ever got it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I went and I stayed with my cousin Craig, and I was like, I do want to reconnect with my dad, but I don't know if once I get over there, if I'll have the balls to do it. So
sure.
It's like, yeah, no problem. Like, come stay with me and my family. Like, we'll see how you feel when you come. So I get there the first day. I think I arrived in the morning, but like my flight, like I didn't sleep at night, right?
Yeah.
So I went there to my cousins and I slept a bit, because the key to jet lag, as you probably know, is try to like just skip a night of sleep kind of, and then you catch up.
Through it. Yeah.
So I just had like a little nap, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go to the pub. So I went with like all my family members I hadn't seen since I was little, and got pretty drunk. Had a good time.
As you do.
Yeah. And then the next day I woke up and I'm hungover. So that's like my first morning waking up there. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Take me to my dad's. I want to go see my dad. Which I wasn't expecting to do that. I thought I was going to pussy out, to be honest. I was like, I don't think I can do it. Like, what if he rejects me? Like, I just don't know. It's too scary.
Well, 10 years is a long time. Well, 15 actually. Yeah. Sorry, it's a long time.
Yeah, 15 from seeing each other. Mm-hmm. So my cousin was like, yeah, I know where he lives, so we're going to drive you there. I'm like, hey, I'm a little bit hungover, but like, I can do this. So we go there, and it's like a row of houses. And he tells me it's the one on the end. So I go up to the door and I'm knocking on the door, and no one answered. And I went back to the car and I was like shaking, like having a panic attack.
Nerves, yeah.
And like my cousin's like, oh, I just talked to Mark, my uncle Mark. He's like, he actually said it's the one on the opposite end. You were knocking on the wrong door.
Oh.
And at that point, I was like crying. I'm like, I can't go up there again by myself. Like, at this point, I'm shaking because I was already like standing at the door alone. So I was like, you have to come up to the door with me. My cousin Craig hadn't seen my dad for, I'm not sure how long, but maybe 5 years or something as well. But he's like, okay, I'll come up to the door with you. So he came up to the door. He's like 6'5", like real big guy. So I was standing behind him. I'm just 5'4", so like you couldn't even see me. He's thick too. Like, so my dad's wife Dot answered the door, and he was like, "Oh, she's like, oh my God, Craig, like come in, like nice to see you." And then I kind of popped out from behind, and she was like, oh my God, Bronwyn, like, come in, come in. Like, she knew who I was. I don't know how, if I just looked the same as when I was little. I think I do.
Well, you
Yeah.
are the spitting image of your dad, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are. Yeah.
So she was like, yeah, come on in. And my dad was in the living room. It was just like a 1-bedroom flat. And I come into the living room, and this is the first time I've ever seen him in a wheelchair besides like the CNN
Sure. Yeah.
interview.
Yeah. The Death Grip show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just found that DVD today. I might watch that later. But
Yeah.
um, so I go in and I see my dad, and I just start breaking down crying. And he was so happy to see me. He's like, have a seat. Like, and he's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I haven't seen you forever. And he just was like so happy that, and wasn't like emotional. Not saying he wasn't emotional. He was just really happy. So I stopped crying because I didn't want to seem like a baby. I was just like, okay, like, cool. So we stayed for maybe an hour with my cousin Craig, and I'm like, yeah, so I'm here for a week. And basically we decided, okay, I'll come back tomorrow, like at tea time. And then every day I'd stay a little longer. And then, because I kind of had to get comfortable, or we had to get comfortable.
Sure.
After probably on the third day, my cousin's like, hey, I'm just going to leave you for a couple hours and I'll come back and get you. I'm like, okay. Then he came back to get me. And then we went to the big mall in Manchester.
Yeah.
Well, that was the plan, like go shopping for the afternoon. But when we were leaving, I was just bawling my eyes out because I didn't want to leave my dad. So he's like, do you want me to take you back? And I was just like, I just don't know. Like, I'm only here for a few more days. And it was just so emotional. So yeah, he brought me back to my dad. And then that was actually the day, you probably heard me tell this story. Maybe, I'm not sure. But so I went back and we like had a couple of beers together, and we were watching some shoot interviews on Bad News Alan. That was one of my dad's best friends. And
yeah. Bad News, of course. They had obviously
like
a big run in Calgary, in Stampede.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting on the couch, my dad's in his wheelchair, and I was just looking at him as we were watching it, just like, I just want to be closer to you. So I grabbed like a kitchen table chair, and I sat right next to him, and just kind of like put my head on his shoulder, and we were like holding hands, and then we just like both started crying. And
Really?
he yeah. And he like hugged me and said, I love you. Or no, sorry, he said, I'm sorry. That's what it was.
Oh, you're gonna get me going now.
Yeah. And then my cousin walked in because he was there to pick me up. I do tell this story on the dark side, so hopefully I'm not giving out too much. But,
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing it on the dozen, because you're getting me emotional. Keep talking.
Well, I feel like I'm giving a little more detail too, so that's nice to tell like all of it.
Yeah.
And my cousin came to pick me up, and then we just stopped crying, and then I was like, can you like take a picture of us? And so my cousin took a picture, and I have that picture, so that's like such a special moment in memory.
And I know the picture you're talking about. Yeah, where you're literally just above him.
Actually, no. I'm right beside him. I think I don't post it as much, this one, because, gosh, I look so young in it. And I think I had a crappy camera. Like the lens was all blurry, like a fingerprint.
It's the old school phones. It's the old school phones.
Well, no, it was an actual camera, but I think there was like fingerprints on it, so they're all blurry photos. They're terrible photos the first trip to England, but. So anyways, every day I'd stay a little longer. And then like saying goodbye to him was really hard. Every time I left, he would cry and I would cry. And he would just tell me to go because he didn't want me to see him cry anymore. It's like, just go. Okay. But so the second trip, I stayed with my dad. The next couple of trips, I stayed with him because I just wanted more time with him.
Yeah. And
I think it was, so that first trip, he hadn't had his strokes yet. But I think it was the second trip when I came, it was because he had a couple of strokes. So each time I came, his health was like deteriorating, worse and worse each time.
Yeah, of course.
So.
And, that whole thing with the GoFundMe thing, that was obviously sorted, and, obviously Jericho had talked about it as well. Jericho donated.
Yeah. Well, that had nothing to do with, I don't really know what the whole thing is because I wasn't there and I didn't run that.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like, it was one person and kind of taking advantage of it too. But what I heard was from the time that your dad was in the hospital and being looked after, that's where basically the family wanted him. Was because he was being looked after by professionals.
Yes. Yeah,
rather
after
than being at home.
I had a sense of relief when he finally was at the home being taken care of,
Yeah, yeah,
because I didn't have to worry anymore. Like, yeah, I knew the doctors, the nurses were there, and even my uncle, who was actually there, said this is the best place for him. Like, and he,
yeah,
he couldn't drink there, he couldn't smoke there, so
yeah,
basically being
yeah,
taken care of.
yeah. And it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Because he was such a big drinker and smoker, and he was like the fittest guy on the planet back in the day. You know what I mean? He was like, um, no, for me, it was obviously for me as a fan, and for people that are listening to the show that are fans of the Dynamite Kid. You know, it's that's a pretty nice story for you to share because they're the stories I want people to hear. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
man
and
behind
that's
it.
those are the things that my dad was a man of very little words, as
Yeah,
most
yeah.
British men are. I think that's part of the culture.
No, you're not wrong. It's the
Yeah,
same with Irishmen. It's like very proud people.
yeah.
Their
So
actions are
we
words.
didn't talk about a lot, but it was those little things that he would do, like cry each time I left, that showed how he felt. And even that, I think it was the first trip I went there. I told him he wanted to give me money, and or I was talking about, oh, I saw these pillows at the airport, which were like these that I really wanted to
Ah,
buy. And so
ah,
he made sure that I had money when I left. And even though I knew he didn't have much money, I knew that I had to take it because he wanted me to take it. And he wanted me to get what I
yeah,
wanted.
yeah.
So it's just those little things that he would do that show, his heart.
And like the simple thing that I took from that as well was like just whispering into your ear saying I'm sorry.
Mhm.
That's
Just like no explanation. I didn't need any more.
no.
I knew what he
What else
meant.
did you need?
Yeah.
That was like I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's and you know what? Sometimes that's enough.
Yeah. You know
You know
what?
what I
And then
mean?
it was such a beautiful moment that that's all I needed.
And you got to make real good peace, and I think that's
Mhm.
a beautiful thing. I really do.
Yeah. And then, when he died, I was pregnant with Harlow. Like, I was only 3 months pregnant when he died.
Yep.
So I wasn't really able to grieve properly because I was like, I have to take care of this baby inside of me. I can't get depressed.
Of
I can't
course.
not
Of
eat. Like,
course.
I need to sleep. I need to eat. I need to just keep on going. So I
Yeah.
just kept going. And then, then I had a baby. I was off for a year of work and then I had a baby. So I was busy with that. Now it's been COVID. So now I've been dealing with that. But during COVID, we filmed the Dark Side interviews. And
Yep.
so it's been a really good time for me. I'm like now really healing, and I'm jumping into all these podcasts because I'm trying to heal more and tell my story more. And um, yeah, it's just been a really positive thing. And so thank you for this.
Listen, Brahman, thank you. I mean, we talked about this for a long time, and like I said, we said at the top of the show, um, that we needed to do this the right way, and for the right time. You know what I mean? Like you've obviously talked to me about these stories before, and I was kind of like of the impression that people need to hear this. You know what I mean? And obviously, Aaron, your fiance and myself are pretty good friends as well, and he was saying as well, he was like, I think you're the right guy to get this going. And I was like, well, look,
Yeah.
it's your story. Do you know what I mean? It's your story. I don't like when certain podcasters try and take advantage of people just to get the downloads. For me, it's more about getting the story right.
Yeah.
There's a human being behind that story at the end of the day. You
And
know what I
and
mean?
before I didn't want to live in my dad's shadow. So I was like, I didn't want to do podcasts and stuff
Yeah.
because I was like, people will be like, who is this girl? What? Like, we don't care. But I'm finally at a place where I'm like comfortable with who I am, what I bring to the table, my story. And I don't know if it's an age thing or COVID's really just made my thinking different in a good way. So yes, COVID's been hard, but I'm also thinking differently now. So good.
Well, no,
This
it's
is
cool. Like,
I'm
and in fairness,
exploring. I'm just trying to get it all out there.
yeah, but it's a good thing. I mean, you obviously you got your mom as well, like who has her story to tell as well, and she's happy to tell her story, and then of course you've got you got the family in England. Mark, I mean, me and Mark have been friends for a long time as well. Um, funny story. When I was still wrestling, I was like, I just want to do a show somewhere in the UK, Wigan or whatever, so that I can at least go and see your dad and pay my respects. Just
Yeah.
and when I say pay my respects, I mean while he was still with us, to say like, thank you, sir. You know what I mean? And just at least crack a beer with the guy and just say I had a beer with the Dynamite Kid. That's
Yeah.
enough for me.
Oh, I wish we were friends when I was visiting before. Well, we kind of were, but like,
We
I've been
were, and
like,
it was funny.
fly over.
Yeah, no, I know it was, but look, I mean, I think, I remember when I did do the tribute show, on Dynamo's Dozen, which you obviously heard at the time as well, and Harley Race was on, and it was a couple of guys on, that you know came from different parts of the world. I remember Mark and his family were happy with that. You know what I mean? It was quite touching for them. So I was like, if I can do that, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? I didn't need to meet the man to know that I was accepted by the right people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that wasn't that didn't trouble me too much. Um, I suppose you've still got like you. I mean, you hang out at Uncle Brett's pretty much every other summer, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just here with
It's a
Uncle Brett.
hot spot in the summer, the outdoor pool.
Yeah, yeah. They watch sports, and you just have
Yeah.
some cocktails out in the pool.
It's a sweet setup. There's like a TV outside, like it's like a fireplace TV, and there's lawn chairs and tables in the pool. It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. Not jealous at all over here because and not merely because our weather is just literally bipolar. Our
Yeah.
weather is
Well, it is
bipolar.
here.
At least you guys know you're getting sun, and you know when you're getting snow. For here, it's like we get it all one day. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? Um, I suppose in closing, we should we'll kind of wrap up soon, because, like, as we said, we are going to do a part two. We're going to kind of almost do a review of Dark Side of the Ring ourselves, between ourselves, and see what
Yeah.
way it comes out. And
I
to be
watched
fair,
the Pillman one last night. It was. Did you watch it?
yeah, pretty emotional, pretty emotional.
Emotional, but good.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Really well done.
I'm actually trying to get in touch with some of the Dark Side guys to get them on the show as well, just to kind of pick their brain as well in terms of what where the ideas came from and stuff. But for me, my kind of prayers, I suppose, are that this one comes out right with the kid, and it's not, you know it's not altered to make it look like a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because there's good stories in there and there's bad stories, of course. We know that, but I just hope it's fair, and I'm sure I speak for you on that as well, right?
Yeah, I have a good. I mean, of course, there's a part of me that's worried as well.
Well, but that's nerve. That's natural.
But I have a good feeling about it. I mean, the producers are really happy with it, and like Jericho said, he watched it because he's narrating it, of course, and he said it was excellent. So, or I did an excellent job. So, I don't think Jericho would lie.
Are you and Jericho talking all the time now?
No, not all the time. Newly
Sometimes.
connected friends, but and then I don't know. I know that I have like a positive ending to the story, or like we all kind of have positive endings. So I think it's going to be sort of rough and bumpy, and that's the truth. But the end, I think, is going to be, I think it's going to wrap up nicely.
And I suppose to wrap up now, like, I mean, your brother Marek, and obviously your sister as well.
Yeah.
Um, do they have a good fond memory? I mean, I know obviously he never saw his youngest daughter, but do they have like have they made peace with the whole thing as well? They kind of
Yeah. Like my brother is not angry at all or
yeah.
anything like that. He doesn't hold any anger.
He always looks like such a happy guy. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
always got a smile.
So,
Yeah,
he's a typical man, sort of a man of little words, but
yeah,
no anger. So I think that's important.
very
And
true.
my sister has really come to terms with things, as you'll see in Dark Side. But
Cool.
what was I going to say about her? That like it's as if she did know him, because the amount of stories my mom has passed on to my sister, And the way my sister can do impressions of my father, it's like she knew him. It's so crazy.
Really?
And it's even like, because it's on, you can look on YouTube and look up videos and promos. So it's like she knew him. She knows him. So I think that's really cool.
That's actually super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it.
Sometimes I feel like she knows him more than I do, even though I knew him and she actually never met him. But that's how much she either pays attention or, listens to things that my mom says, or she's
a
really
sixth
connected to
sense
him.
kind of deal. Yeah,
Yeah. She's just connected to him, even though they never met. So it's really cool.
That is absolutely awesome. Browyne, you have been a pleasure and you're a star.
Thank you.
I love talking to you guys. It's always a pleasure for me. And we're going to do this again, of course. We're going to review that show when it comes out. But until next time, is there anything you want to plug, or is there any kind of shout outs you want to give before we go?
I guess you can follow me on Instagram. So it's at Bronwyne Jewel. And I'm just trying to get a lot of different merch going for my dad. So we have a figure coming out with Junk Shop Dog. That's really exciting. T-shirt that just came out with Suplex apparel. We're doing a new line of T-shirts coming out, like pro wrestling tees. I'm doing some new T-shirts, and we have another new exciting project coming up. So follow me on Instagram and stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely, and we might get something going now for the relaunch of the dozen here, where I will get something going, and we might do a giveaway for the next show for part 2 for a T-shirt possibly, but we'll see. We'll come up with something anyway. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend, and I can't wait to speak to you again for part 2.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Until next week, Dynamo's dozen. For me and for Brahman, we are over and out.